Question letter D is actually really similar to questions A and B, so you may not have necessarily felt as though you needed to watch a whole separate video on how to do this second row of questions, but it's worth it to have another example, just in case you need a bit more structure. In this question, just like with all the questions in the first row, we have one log on one side of the equation, which means the best way to deal with it is to write it in exponential form. If you kind of freaked out because you saw the parentheses there, then don't worry. Watch and see how this works out very similarly to the ones we did before. So base of 5 to the power of 2 equals whatever's inside those parentheses, so x minus 2. It looks more complicated at first until we simplify it and clean it up a little bit. 5 squared is just 25. And once we write it as 25 equals x minus 2, I hope your instincts kicked in once again so you could say to yourself, oh, that's totally an equation I can solve. I'll just add 2 to both sides, 25 plus 2, that means x is 27. So again, you don't have to overcomplicate things. You just have to kind of think as logically as you can about rewriting the problem so that your natural instincts to solve can kick in. Your natural instincts probably don't have to do with logs, but if you can get rid of the log and rewrite the problem a bit more naturally, then it doesn't look quite as complicated. So in question letter E, same idea. Let's see if we can rewrite this one. This time, it's again going to look a little bit crazy because we have 2 to the power of, we're used to seeing just a number on the other side of the equation. Now we have an x minus 1, that's okay, equals 8. Now, this is where it might help to think for a second. 2 to the power of something is going to have to be 8. Well, I know for a fact 2 to the power of 3 is 8, so let's just use common sense. X minus 1 is going to have to end up being a 3. So the question is, what would x have to be? Something minus 1 is going to have to be 3. Well, x would have to be 4. Because 4 minus 1 is 3, and then 2 to the power of 3 is 8. So that one didn't quite solve with like algebra, but sometimes you don't need fancy algebra. Sometimes you just have to think logically about what number makes sense, and then you'll be good to go. So try letter F. I'm going to leave that one open a little bit so that you can try it for yourself and see if your instincts kick in. If you feel like you're stuck, don't worry too much. There are 2 reasons why I think you shouldn't worry. First, because you have access to the answer key. If you're not sure, you can look at the answer key and then think backwards. If you know that answer is what it is, why? Like, why does it make sense? If you can figure it out from looking at the answer key and working backwards, that's great, and that's a good thing. The second reason why I don't want you to worry is because this is really some next level stuff. This is really what you're going to see in math analysis. The only reason we're doing this here and now is so those of us who are going on to math analysis will have that advantage. They'll be ready for when they're going to see it again next year. If you're not going on to math analysis, or if you are but you know that that's like way in the distant future and you're not really that concerned about it right now, then don't panic. Keep the perspective. You're not going to have a ton of logs on the final exam. You're not going to have to do a whole lot of logs in math analysis right off the bat. You have time to let this idea marinate. So do the best you can with these examples, but don't panic too much. And as we go through, hopefully you can find that your natural instincts are just going to keep building up the more patience you can allot this. In the next video, we'll talk about a really complicated example. Letters G, H, and I are the most complicated ones on the entire page. So just be aware. And if that means you're like, oh, skipping those, then skip the next video altogether. It's totally fine if you skip letters G, H, and I. They're not going to be on the final. They're not going to be something that you need to know until you get to math analysis. So if you want to skip over them and get to the next one, that's completely okay. Just do what seems best for you.